Hello again, Kevin Culp, PM Head of Cloud Management Solutions here at Supermicro. We're continuing with our podcast to deploy SCC as a bare metal host in air gap mode. In the previous video, we launched the virtual machine management selection to build our virtual machine layer of SuperCloud Composer. As I mentioned in the earlier video clip, we have a layer called virtual machine management, which sits in between the host layer and also the K8 cluster or pod level. And you can see here that we successfully created our virtual machines from the list that has been completed and successfully deployed. Each of these are basically indexed and have dependencies of each other. So let's go and take a deeper look through the CLI and see how these virtual machines were basically created. So I'm going to choose the option to back out of the menu. And by selecting B and then going to the quit operation here or Q option for quit. So let's quit out of here, execute it, and then let's basically clear the screen here so we can look in detail of the actual command. So versh is the command you issue to look at the status or state or control a specific virtual machine under the KVM hypervisor. So we're going to issue the command versh list -- all. And you can see here, each of these particular machines or virtual machines are running. And they are indexed on the left-hand side starting at 1 and into what we call 16. So each of these are very important to be sequenced this way. And you can go into more detail to look at which particular virtual machine that has been instantiated or requires the previous particular or parent machine to be instantiated. So I also want to mention here, if you do not have a large enough NVMe drive, you will have these particular install hang, and especially you'll see this prevalent in the SCC NAT server. It'll show up as running, but yet it will never continue to complete each of the other instantiated VMs. So watch out for that. Make sure you have a large enough volume that you can support the instantiation of these particular virtual machines. So in my particular use case, I have a very large particular drive here, which is about 14 terabytes. So large drive. You really could get away with about 4 terabytes. The other thing I want to mention is that if you are creating a specific bare metal host, you want to watch out for when you set up what we call a virtual group or an LVM volume. And so typically what we recommend is 2 ways to handle that. You basically create the entire disk for the specific kernel operating system that gets deployed on your bare metal host or your NVMe drive. You also could actually extend the virtual group itself or the LVM volume based on the installation manual, and it explained to you the required size that you need to basically set for the LVM volume. The other thing I want to mention too as well is when you're deploying itself, you want to follow this particular sequence of indexes, right? So I use the easy script to be able to create these, and you can also check to see how your NAT server is running by simply SSHing into that NAT server by issuing a SSH scc-nat-a-1. And at that point, you should be able to essentially connect in there without being challenged specifically for a password. And so you can issue this command here. You can say yes and then continue on. And at that point, once you establish the certificate, you should not be prompted at all for specifically a password. Also, I want to mention also in our configuration, you can look at the bridge configuration too as well by issuing a command of ipadder show and then grep it to BR, and you can see here what bridges have been established within your environment. So you'll see here that bridge 0 has been created here and is pointing to the 172.24.199.46 IP address. And you notice here, bridge 1 is actually up, right? And the NIC has actually been bound to that particular bridge for bridge 1. But remember though, when we're doing the install, we're doing this in air gap mode without the presence of basically a bridge or a directed network that's attached to essentially the second NIC, right? So if you are, we talked about this in earlier presentations or videos where we are now going to provide a microservice that you choose, and there's no dependency of a second NIC to basically deploy. So you'll see that in the version SCC version 3.10 coming out very shortly, where we actually now provide you that flexibility to give you choice on how you want to basically deploy SCC. All right, so we're going to continue on with the install here. And by going back into the directory of ls and executing the command scc_installer.sh again. And then now that we've completed option 1, option 2, and option 3, we're now going to move into now establishing basically our additional phases. So we're in phase 4. So we've completed phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. And now we're moving into phase 4. So we're going to choose that option, phase 4, at this point, which is menu option 4. And now we're going to actually now auto install the K8's charts by choosing option number 1 and continuing on with our particular deployment. So we'll let this run in the background here and let it execute. It will take some time. Approximately the entire install for bare metal is probably between 38 to 40 minutes. So be patient, let it do its work in the background. And this completes this particular video, which we're going to start completing with the successful completion after this done in the next particular video. So thanks for joining today. Thanks for sticking with me. We'll see you next time across the aisle. Thanks and have a great day.